Beef and Lamb New Zealand and Massey University are currently funding research investigating beef cow performance on hill country breeding herds on the university's Tuapaka farm. The study began in 2012 with the aim of producing guidelines for farmers around the production benefits of differing cow types.
For a long time we've been selecting for heavier steers and heavier carcass weights, and alongside that we've increased the cow live weight. And what we're seeing is that perhaps we're going too far along those routes and we're getting cows that are really big. And in terms of the calf output, we're actually seeing that cows are bigger. The increase in cow live weight is greater than the increase in calf size. So basically we're looking at how do cows of different live weights compare in terms of calf output, and also how is the role of milk production of the cow involved in that as well. So performance of the beef cow isn't great compared to a lot of the other livestock classes on farm. She's there doing a lot of other roles, and when you look at her value to the system as a whole, generally she is adding value, but our average calf weaning rate is about 85%, and it's been that way, since I was a kid. This trial isn't really about the breed of cow. We've gone for the dairy cross because it was a really quick way of getting reliably cows that were heavy, medium and light, and that produced more milk than a straight bred beef cow. There's a huge value in terms of weaning weight to be gained from a bit of extra milk, and that a big cow can produce the necessary extra calf live weight, so long as she's got the ability to turn that, to produce that milk, then she'll wean that extra calf size. So these cows were all produced through a set of insemination. So there's 4 Angus bulls that have sired all the cows, so they're all half siblings from a range of herds to get the different dams that we needed. So these cows were born in 2008, and so they're now 7, and they've got their 6th calf at foot now. The first thing we measured, the calves all came onto the property at weaning, so that was 3 months for the dairy crosses and 6 months for the straight Angus. So at that point we started measuring onset of puberty, and so these cows the ovaries were examined from 8 months of age right through up until the bull went in at 16 months. And we looked at when the cows had their first estrus. Throughout their life we've been measuring live weight every month, and we do body condition score and rib fat measured by ultrasound. We do that every 3 months, and we measure live weight of the calf basically at birth and then right up until weaning. And then the first 3 cohorts of calves, we kept the steer calves right through until slaughter. So we've measured growth of the calves right until finishing, and then some carcass quality traits as well. When the cows had their first calf, we looked at postpartum and estrus, so how long was it taking them to come back into heat. One of the things we did was count the number of follicles that we could see on the ovaries, and we looked back at that data at weaning of calf number 5, and we saw that the cows that had a lot of follicles then, we've got most of those cows still in our herd, whereas the cows that had 1 follicle 6 weeks postpartum, nearly twice as many of those cows have left our herd. There's no culling on production, it's simply fertility.
30, 15, you're going to get twins.
We've used a number of different sire breeds over the years, so we've included Hereford, Simmental, Angus, and obviously this year the calves are Charolais. We've taken the first 3 cohorts of calves through for slaughter, and what we see repeatedly is at weaning, the calves from the straight Angus cows are the lightest. They're a little bit lighter than the calves from the Angus Jersey cows. And within the dairy cross cows, so the Angus Friesian calves are the biggest, the Angus Kiwis are middle-sized, and the Angus Jerseys are the lightest, and then the straight Angus calves sit out the bottom. What we see post-weaning is that lighter weaning weight of the Anguses was because they were getting less milk from their mums. And post-weaning, we do see some compensatory growth from them, and they end up, by slaughter, they've usually overtaken the Jerseys, and they're similar to the Angus Kiwi. They never have caught up to the Angus Friesian, but we do see a correction to their sort of potential mature size that they're growing to. In terms of carcass composition, so the Anguses dress out a fraction better than the Angus Jersey in particular, by about 0.5%, but statistically it's significant, and it does mean that for the same live weight you are getting a marginally heavier carcass. And the meat samples that we've taken back to the lab are pretty uniform across all of the breeds. So we've looked at intramuscular fat, we've looked at fat colour, meat colour, and we've measured that, fat colour in particular, we've measured really objectively. The most efficient cows are the ones that are producing a lot of milk, and as long as those cows, those heavier cows, are producing a heavier calf, they're just as efficient as those little cows producing a proportionally smaller calf. But some of our cows, the straight Angus being the example here, so they're high live weight cows producing low live weight calves, and they're certainly not as efficient. There's no difference among any of the breeds in terms of reproductive performance. So, the Angus cows are consistently carrying about a condition score to a condition score and a half more condition than the dairy crosses, and we sort of wondered early on, was that going to translate to more longevity or better fertility, and it's not. So the breeds are basically the same for reproductive performance, and so it's just converting that, those dairy cows are converting that extra feed into calf as opposed to body condition.
This program was made with funding from New Zealand On Air.